Welcome in this Week 8 preview edition of Inside the Huddle here on High School Cube News. My name is Brian Chimino with Mike Clark of the Sun-Times, Beth Long of FoxSports, and Scout.com. There's a big week in the Catholic League Blue starting Friday night. Number 11 Brother Rice versus number 10 Providence, as Brother Rice holds their destiny in their own hands, and it's a big one against the Celtics.
We're down to Week 8 in the Catholic League Blue, and there's only one team that's eliminated, and that's Mount Carmel, surprisingly enough, two-time defending state champ. They're the only team that does not have a chance going into Week 8 to win at least a share of the conference title. So we're going to know an awful lot more by Saturday night about this. Brother Rice and Providence, a couple of really explosive offenses going at it here. We've talked about it all week long with Justin Hunneford, Miles Boykin, Nate Vovoda, Richie Warfield, Mike Markusovic on the Providence offense. With Brother Rice, you've got Marcus Jones and Alex Alarcon, among others. So, I mean, there should be some points scored this week, I think.
Absolutely. The only name I have to add to that is Ricky Smalling, who's a sophomore wide receiver for Brother Rice, and Marcus Jones has just been causing a stir, too. So it should be very interesting to see these two high-powered offenses going against each other. Also of note, before the game on Friday, Miles Boykin will be getting his Semper Fidelis All-American jersey presented to him, so maybe even a little bit more on the line for him, too.
And Saturday in the Catholic League Blue, number 14 St. Rita in Wilmette against number 9 Loyola.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one, too. Loyola's defense, good as ever, basically. Their one loss was 16-13 at Brother Rice in the rain. They only gave up one touchdown in that game. Brother Rice kicked 3 field goals to win that game. And also, Loyola's defense shut down Providence in a 10-7 game a couple of weeks ago. On the other side, St. Rita, certainly, they've been under the radar a little bit the last few weeks because they've been playing outside of the league. But you know, they're a team that's dangerous in a variety of ways. Tyree Lee, the running back, has been very effective this year. C.J. Weideman throwing to Brandon Gaston, who may have had some of the most ridiculous catches we've seen all year long.
Absolutely. And the one note I have to add to Loyola is that their junior long snapper, John Shannon, added his first offer from Army this past week. So even though Loyola isn't a team that you see a ton of college coaches, BCS level coaches come in and offer, it is interesting to see that one of their juniors has an offer, because normally the juniors don't even play at Loyola.
Big matchup in the West Suburban as the leaders of each division will face off. We're talking about number 2 Glenbard West, number 20 Addison Trail, both teams 7-0.
Glenbard West certainly the favorite here, but I mean, Addison Trail has had a really nice turnaround. They were 2-7 last year. Paul Parfit Jr. has done a great job with that program over the years, and this is going to be certainly their biggest test of the year. Win or lose, it's not really going to matter to them because obviously they're already in the playoffs. Glenbard West, though, they do what they always do. They play great, swarming, attacking defense. They have a couple of running backs. Donovan Vaughn may be back this week. We'll see about that. But Sam Brodner, the junior, has really been picking up some steam, and I'm guessing that he may be getting some interest as well.
Absolutely. I would imagine as soon as they get his film out and circulating around, he's going to be getting some interest. I know colleges have started hearing his name, which is the first step for sure. And another prospect to watch in this one is Addison Trail's Javion Bradley. He's a 6'3", 6'4", probably 215-pound receiver who can make some pretty electric catches. Has been a little bit behind in the recruiting trail because he just didn't really get as much attention as people expected last year, but had a great 7-on-7 season, and certainly wouldn't surprise me to see him have some pretty big games as this year continues.
And a big rivalry week in the Upstate 8. We're talking Geneva at Batavia. This is for the 96th meeting between these two squads. Batavia has won the last 3.
This will be an interesting one. Geneva's been a little bit down by their standards the last few years. Batavia obviously is the defending state champ in 6A, and had to replace a lot of key players, but they're both rolling along this year. Geneva has a really good quarterback, Daniel Santa Catarina, who's going to Northern Illinois. Batavia has been doing it with a variety of kids, but Santa Catarina has been a guy who's been pretty productive the last few years. His brother also went to Northern Illinois, and actually his sister was a varsity athlete at Northern Illinois as well. So some pretty good, production from that family for Northern Illinois.
Absolutely, and he was a gift that I know many people that are Northern Illinois fans and coaches that were pretty excited about, because he's probably one of the most under the radar best prospects in the state. Didn't really cause a lot of stir with his recruitment, was getting a lot of interest, and decided to end it early and headed to Northern Illinois, presumably because it runs in the family at this point. But definitely a kid to watch, and he's got Geneva on the right track certainly this year.
And also in the Upstate 8, number 23, Neuqua Valley will take on Waubonsee Valley, who is now unranked after a huge upset loss in double overtime to West Aurora.
This is one of the big rivalry games, probably in the state, I would say. I mean, a few years ago when they were both undefeated, they played twice, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, both before packed houses. Once was at North Central, once at Neuqua. Neuqua Valley is kind of an interesting story this year. At the beginning of the year, they were not very good at all, to be honest with you. They got shut out early on. Their offense was kind of struggling a little bit, but they won 5 in a row. Looking like the team we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. Brock Rutter is another quarterback to keep an eye on. He's kind of led them back. Brock Rutter, is probably the guy to watch in this matchup.
It's interesting because the two quarterbacks for both these teams intrigue me a lot. Rutter's headed to Indiana State, so he's already made his college decision, and he's a very good prospect. Very under-the-radar kid, though, is Zach Binema, the quarterback for Waubonsee. He's got a couple targets that are people that he can target that are impressive, too, like Will Buford at wide receiver. Both of those kids look like Division I prospects. Binema's 6'4", I think 205 pounds. Buford's 6'1". Those are kids, too, that I think could make a stir, certainly in the game, but also get some college interest. And I know I've been hearing their names more and more, and Waubonsee has a bunch of guys like that who could get some interest, are good enough, and just depends on how they play the rest of the season.
As we head into some recruiting notes, Minnesota at top of that Big Ten West Division, and they pick up a recruit from the area.
Minnesota added another kid from Chicago, Lake Park defensive back Antonio Chenault. He's very athletic. We already knew that. He's a double sports star in track and in football. One of the best high school safeties I've seen in a while, certainly, and the safety looks to be the position that he's projected to play at Minnesota, so I'm sure Gopher fans were excited about that. Another commitment, Illinois State just continues to rack up talented kids from Chicago. This week they added Richards quarterback Hassan Muhammad Rogers, a former MVP for us. You just really don't see a school like Illinois State mop up like that, but they've done it. They did it last year with Naperville Central's quarterback Jake Colby and a couple other impressive guys doing it again this year.
And that'll do it for this week of Inside the Huddle here on High School Q News. Check back next week as we review Week 8 and preview the last week of the regular season, Week 9. For Mike Clark and Beth Long, I'm Brian Chimino. We'll see you next week.